Derick Giwner, joined by my left-hand man, Matt Rose. We're going to talk about some harness racing. The Meadowlands has 8 stakes races on Saturday, November 23rd. We're going to cover a couple of them, including 2 TVG finals, the Open Pace and the Open Trot, both going for $350,000, and they're part of a $75,000 guaranteed pick 4. Let's take a look at the field for the first of the 2. And we have a pretty strong field here, including a little bit of a different thing with the older foals.
A little bit of an added twist. This is a 10-horse field. We'll see 9 and 10 shortly, and we'll discuss them briefly. A lot of familiar faces here in the $350,000 TVG Open Pace, with a little added twist of the 3-year-old, Bettor's Wish, who's been, I guess, pretty much a cinch to be a 3-year-old Pacer of the Year. 13 for 18, 1.5 million, but you know what? He faces a lot of these tough, older, rugged horses, and we've seen it over the last few years with the Pacers and the Trotters. Sometimes it's worked out, and sometimes it hasn't. The only guarantee is it makes for a tougher handicapping puzzle, that's for sure.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And one of the questions is whether Bettor's Wish is going to leave or not in this field. He's been pretty much close to the pace in most of his races. Now facing older foes, maybe he won't be. I've seen a quote from trainer Chris Ryder saying he won't be near the front. So that could make things interesting, especially when you're talking about a morning line favorite not being near the front. That's not as common.
Most of his races have been on the front because he's the best. He's odds on, and you're supposed to be in the front. That might not necessarily be the case facing some other certified speedrunners here that the likes that he hasn't faced before. So, I wouldn't expect a front-end effort. I would expect some sort of off-the-pace effort. Obviously, Dexter Dunn can't just float off the gate and wave the flag early, but I see somebody else cutting the mile here, or taking control of this race, and him coming from off the pace.
A lot of these horses are coming out of a key race, the same race at least, the Potomac Pace and the
Potomac Pace.
The Potomac Pace. I just can't say that right, no matter how many times I try.
Right, Potomac. Anyway, it was from Rosecroft Raceway.
But we're going to look at the replay of that race and check it out. And this is obviously, you see on the lead here, American history, and he hasn't done as well on the lead as he's done from off the pace, and he comes up a little short here.
Yeah, he's one of those discussed about when you're supposed to take control of a race or be a front runner. He made the right move, Joe Bongiorni, brushed the lead and rated a sensible enough pace in the 6-horse field, and just couldn't last. Certainly not a bad effort, but not his sharpest effort, and the wire doesn't save him. And you see a very game uncovered Endeavor, who we see in this race, and Delta Winner, who was a big price that came up the rail there. We see him in this race as well. Where does that leave American history? Will he be cutting the mile? I don't know. What do you think?
I honestly think that there's a couple of horses in here that could potentially leave. Obviously, Dorsadora Hanover is going to be leaving the gate. Always a Prince is certainly a possibility to leave the gate. He's got wicked speed. He's picking up, I think Yannick Gingras is driving now. And we know he likes to go to the lead, so it could be very interesting. If Always a Prince is leaving, it's going to be hard for American history or anyone to kind of brush to the lead, because sometimes he just gets nuts and he goes like a 52 and 4/2, and it's not going to be very easy to pass him. And all that kind of led me in the direction of a horse that I never pick, and that's the 4 McWicked. I mean, 16 races, I probably picked against him 16 times, and I was right 10 because he only won 6.
So what's different tonight then?
What's different tonight is a few things. One, I love the fact that he's coming off a qualifying line that really, on paper, looks awful. I mean, even when you watched it, it didn't look that good. I love the fact that he's coming off a scratch tick line. This is a horse that had a problem with his hoof. It was a minor thing, but it was still there, and it perhaps affected him a little bit along the way in the Breeders' Crown, even though he raced, really well. I think he's had plenty of time now to get over that, which means he's going to be in better form, better shape. And I think you're going to get a much better price. I think this is a spot where we could get 3-1 on McWicked, and he's got a good post this week. Obviously he's not a horse that usually leaves. He should be reasonably close to the pace. Let's say he's 4th or 5th, close enough for him to grind uncovered and do some damage.
Okay, well, you talk about potential price shopping. You're looking at obviously McWicked, who never goes off a wickedly low choice, but there's always hovering around like the 8-5, 2-1 range. Yeah, you might get the 7-2, 4-1 range in here. I'm gonna take a look at a price also with the aforementioned Always a Prince. Maybe kind of throw a wrench into this race, or when the year-end voters are for an age pacing group for the most part that's been, with the exception of Mick Wickett, it's just $1 million steady commodity, has been kind of up for grabs. Always a Prince. You mentioned he has wicked speed, but I like the off the pace effort in the Breeders' Crown when he was too far back really to threaten and came home 25-4 from well off the pace. And I like the versatility there. And you know what? Does he have good ones inside of him? Obviously, with an 8-hole draw with the best horses inside of him, yeah. But you know what? Could he be double-digit odds? I say so. And you know what? He's been right there as a 3-year-old and right there as a 4-year-old. He's just never really broken through. And there's no standouts in this race.
He's a horse I've always liked.
I think he fits with these.
He certainly has the talent. He's fast enough to win. And quite frankly, I think probably any of the 8 inside horses could potentially win given the right trip and things going their way. I think the outside horse is going to have a little bit of tougher time. But Matt's going to go with a long shot, Always a Prince. I'm going to probably end up with the second choice would be my guess in Mick Wickett.
Do you think Bettor's Wish goes off the favorite?
Honestly, I don't know that American history won't go off the favorite.
What is he? I think the third choice. Okay.
Yeah. But we'll see what happens. We'll move on to race number 10 on the card, $350,000 on the line again in race 10. It's the TVG Open Trot. It's a compact field of 7, but a really talented group.
Yeah, seven horses. It's a shame they couldn't fill out the field, but yeah, you have seven solid horses here from top to bottom, led by I guess you could say the streaking Manchego, 4-year-old mare. Has never been better, and she's rated as the 2-1 morning line favorite. And we have another 3-year-old alert, I guess you could say, in Chimpanzee, coming off his Breeders' Crown win and an easy win in the Matron at Dover. Here's a 3-year-old. You think he's good enough to go with the age horses?
The great thing about Chimpanzee is he's kind of those like nothing bothers me type horses. You know, it doesn't matter where you put him, what situation, he's going to race his race. I don't think he's the fastest horse, you know, in the world. And that worries me going against horses like Six Pack and Manchego, who I just think have more pure speed than he has. I think he'll follow. I think he'll keep up. I don't think he'll be intimidated by racing against older horses, but I don't know that he's fast enough to win the race.
I kind of, not to take anything away with him, but I do kind of agree with you there. And that's why I'm going to lean. I'm going to lean in the direction of the more, not the Chimpanzee is established, but the more established, aged trotting group.
Why don't we take a look at a couple of the replays we got keyed up here. And the first one is Six Pack in the Breeders' Crown. A bunch of these came out of the Breeders' Crown Open Trot, and Six Pack never saw the pylons.
Yeah, we have Bold Eagle, the European shipper that brushed early, and you see him sprint away rather safely. But yeah, Six Pack just went. He had a tough 10-hole trip. You knew,
and that's Atlanta looking him in the eye, basically on the outside, trying to get up for second, and Six Pack's having none of it.
Yeah, that was although he gets beat by soundly, that is a solid effort considering you never saw the rail from post 10. I remember going into the race saying, you know, Oakey's Fonset's not going to get away 10th. He's got to be 4. He has to be out moving, and he grinded the whole mile there. The fact that he's off since that race when other horses have had races or, quote, tighteners, so to speak. I don't know if that concerns me at all, but yeah, he is off a month going to this race, but I can't imagine why Oakey's Fonset won't have this 4-year-old 1,000% revved up and ready to go. And
in the final start of his career.
In the final start of his career before he goes off the stud. And I think, does he stuff Manchego potentially behind him and take control?
But
I think so.
It's going to be interesting because if he thought Bold Eagle was tough, taking on Manchego, we're going to take a look at what she did in the Breeders' Crown, and it was just eye-popping.
Yeah, no contest really. I guess is the way you could say it against the trotting mares. And yeah, I mean, she just I guess you could say it was slowish kind of start to a 4-year-old season, but
she's the best trotter in training right now.
Yeah, without a doubt. And to power away from a good field like that by multiple lengths, I know it was a rated pace, but still, He came back last week, actually last start, a couple of weeks ago, in just an overnight race and went off at, talking about taking control races at short prices, went off 5 cents on the dollar, and she methodically made her way to the front and was all over from there. Obviously, that's a perfect prep for this race, but will she be controlling the action, or will Six-Pack be controlling the action? That's the big question, and I think it's going to be Six-Pack.
And I think it's going to be Manchego.
Okay.
And I have a reasoning why I think Manchego is going to be controlling the action. When you talk to trainer-driver Oki Svanstedt about Six-Pack, over and over and over again, he tells you how much of a lazy horse this is, how he likes to chase other horses. And I think he's finally in the position where he has a horse that's fast enough and good enough for him to follow, as opposed to having to set the pace. There were a couple of races where, I think at the Meadowlands, where he tried to go wire to wire from the outside against Atlanta, came from off the pace and nailed them at the wire. I think that he's been waiting for this kind of race where he could just follow a horse like Manchego, take him to the top of the stretch, and then sprint by. And I just love Six-Pack in this spot. I think it's a great spot. I think you're going to get a price on the horse. Not a great price. You're
Well,
not
when you
going to
say
get
a price,
Well,
you know, the computations in my head going, 12 to 1.
price. I'm thinking like 640, 660. I think that's a pretty good price.
Okay. Well,
when you're talking about a 7-horse field, then he's the second best horse in the race,
You know what?
or maybe the best.
Well, I guess you could say currently, current form-wise, second best. Yeah, I'm on board with you with Six-Pack. Final start of his career. I guess you could say he has nothing left really to prove, but you would love to see him go out on a high note, if not winning, at least putting in a stellar effort. But I'm with you. If I get 2 to 1 or something like that on Six-Pack, I'm on board.
Top picks for both of us are Six-Pack in this 10th race, and when you look at it, I mean, for me at least, I'm playing a cold exacto over Manchego. I'll take the 10-20 or whatever it pays.
Okay.
I mean, you think the same way?
If I had to go with a cold number, yes. Will I go with a cold number? Probably not, but I definitely see your logic there.
So you're going to try and beat the odds and lose your money.
I'll probably spread around and
Lose your money.
and hit and break even. But like I said, if I get 2 to 1 or higher on Six-Pack, maybe a win bet's the way to go.
Well, it's a huge card, Saturday, November 23rd at the Meadowlands. Like I said, 8 stakes races on the card, including the full Final Four for the 2-year-olds of each division and sex. And 2 more TVG races where one of them, you have Sharton going for Horse of the Year, Bettor's Wish, obviously, in that as well. Well, we'll see how it all shapes out. Good luck.